And that was a Canada versus Canada showdown for the ages yesterday, but keep your eyes on the quick start of Moffatt and Casson.
The Stonor Challenge Cup, Obukohwo and George from Great Britain against Moffatt and Casson from Canada. The British on the left, the Canadians on the right, and the Canadians have blasted off, haven't they?
Yeah, that is a lighty start for sure. This is one thing I know this crew does very well. They are absolutely gritty. They may be lightweights, but today I think they'll be heavyweight hunters as this Olympic hopeful and Olympic double go down the course.
Well, that is a commanding lead to have coming out of the islands, and the British have been left for pace by the Canadians. This will be a sensational result. The British look a little bit heavy, I think. The Canadians higher rate, more racy.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen here if whether or not the British double is going to be a steam engine. I had the pleasure of watching these two win the champs double at the Henley Women's Regatta, so we know that they are formidable opponents. I think the lightweights are doing what lightweights do best, utilizing their technique and their lighter shell to try and capitalize on this off of this start. Now we shift, we get into the meat of it. The hard hats are on, and it's time to go to work.
So just to give you some idea, these two women, when they do race lightweight, they don't have to weigh in here, but they'll be weighing it an average of 57 kilos. And that's something around 126 pounds or so, I guess. And that will be significantly less than the British double, who are a heavier crew. Do you think that makes a difference in these headwind conditions? Do you think you know, if the British spectators are watching, thinking, is this race over, that there's room for the British to come back?
Well, so rowing is really a game of drag. So one might think that the lighter you are and the lighter your shell is, the higher it's going to sit out of the water and the easier it's going to be. But you hit the nail on the head in that there is a headwind right now as well as a current. So they're going to need to recruit a lot more of their muscles in order to get down the course, and I think this is where the conditions are going to play to the advantage of the GB team. But looks like the Canadian crew are trying to make sure that they get out as far ahead as possible, and this is where the mental games come in, because as a competitor, if you can't see your crew, if you can't feel their puddles, it can be hard to let them not let them slip away.
So the British have led their opponents at this regatta so far. If they win this one, it will be from the position which they won't have wanted off the start, being over a length and a half down. Canada, you can see that high rate of striking. The question will be how much can they maintain that high level of striking. And Jen Casson in the stroke seat, the 27-year-old, she does have a phenomenal power to weight ratio. She pulled 653.08 on the 2K ergo, which is sensational for a lightweight. And she's stroking that boat. You can't quite see her at the moment on the left of your picture. But I think power to weight does have a really important role to play in rowing, doesn't it, Andrea?
It does, and these two are mostly muscle. They may be lean, but they're mean for sure. And absolutely gritty when it comes down to it. I know Jenny can maintain a pretty high stroke rate. She's comfortable there. And so I think if I was a fly on the wall listening to that, I think Jill would probably be whispering in her ear to keep it nice and low, keep it level, save those gears for the final sprint.
And in the stroke seat, we've got, in the bow seat, sorry, we've got Jill Moffatt. And of course, you shared a room with her for many years, didn't you? What's she like?
Well, she loves Taylor Swift, so I'm going to bet that that was part of the pre-race warm-up. Jill is just so incredibly focused and technical, and she really digs into the details. So I know the two of them will have gone over with their coach, Jeremy Ivey, this in incredible detail. They're going to have a race plan. They're going to stick to their guns. And I know that they've been really working hard on getting their leg timing and a long connected stroke down pat. It looks like they're executing that right now.
So we've seen the 21-year-old Vaeri Obukohwo in the bow of the British double. She has been breaking barriers since she burst into the sport at school. Catherine George, her partner in the stroke seat, these two got a bronze medal in the under-23s behind the Romanian double. There she is, Vaeri, and she is doing a BSc in economics, as well as training, obviously, as well as being an athlete mentor for the Kelly Holmes Trust. And her musical tastes I think, are Nicki Minaj, if you like to know that. But she won't be worrying about that. She's listened to Minaj to kind of psych her up before the race. She needs that psych-up power to come in. We need to see the power from the British double. 4:04, this is going to be a slow race, isn't it?
Yeah, with that headwind especially, it's going to be a long race. It's going to be about how hard they go out through the middle here. And right now, in these headwind conditions, you really need to recruit all of those big muscles first, getting the knees down before you pry open with the body, and then finishing with the arms. Because the lightweights don't have as much muscles to recruit, it's going to be really important that they row as technically as possible in these challenging conditions.
I think the British just need to add a little bit more life to what they're doing. You can see the pain on both their faces. They've been in that rhythm, and their coach Helen Brown will have said, you know, you need to be in a competitive position at the finish. The lightweights will go out quickly, but I tell you what, Jeremy Ivy has done a fantastic job with his Canadian double, hasn't he?
Yeah, he really has, and I'm so excited to see them dig their teeth into this next quadrennial here as they gear up for the all-important Paris qualifications. They're looking so smooth and calm and incorrect. A couple of bobbles there in the British team, as they know that they need to dig deep and ask some serious questions right now if they want to eat into that lead that the Canadians have laid down.
This Canadian lightweight double came 7th at last year's World Championships. I think they were 12th in the Olympics back in Tokyo. They are on an improvement pathway, and they have got the better of this British double, who do look a little bit tired. I think that maybe the headwinds, they weren't so vibrant off the start, the British. The Canadians really scull completely differently. Remind me a bit of the Spanish men's double that won the double sculls earlier today, in just how lively they are, how loose and just fluid their movements are.
Yeah, and keeping it bright and light is really key. It helps the boat run along the water. As we both know, the boat is going to be moving its fastest during the recovery. So being able to have some liveliness and some excitement in the boat keeps it up and high out of the water and allows you to coast down. And it looks like they're still maintaining their lead here, as they're going to start to hear those cheers of "Oh Canada" from the shoreline.
So it's the Canadians rowing in the colours of Shawnigan Lake School. Big yellow stripe down the back of their singlets, which are navy blue, driving in synchronicity together. They've kept their rate high throughout these conditions from the start, even now to the finish. They're not going to let off. There is going to be no let up. The British are trying to close, but I think it's too little too late as the Canadians come up to the progress ball.
Looks like Jill's going to tell Jenny, time to go, let her out of the cage. The heavyweight hunters are here, and it looks like they are going to cross the finish line again against the amazing team from GB, bringing the rate up, just doing just enough to get across. A little look out of the boat from Jenny, from Jill. She knows that the horse is going to be there, and they're across the line.
Canada win the Stonor Challenge Trophy for women's double sculls ahead of the British crew. Moffatt and Casson beat Obukohwo and George. There's confirmation of the Stonor result. It was never really in doubt. I think from the first stroke, the Canadians showed intent and purpose and just blasted the British away. And the British will need to move on. Think again, go on, I guess, to race in the under-23s. And Valeri Obukohwo there, head in her hands, obviously bitterly disappointed with that result, Andrea.